Well, good morning. Now that we're all wide awake with a loud bang. Before we start, I just want to let you know that this is going to be a very interactive panel. So if people could just, oh yeah, we need 10 groups of people. So if you want to, Jeremy and Ryan,
make friends.
Exactly, make friends and get into groups of 10 and around people next to you. 3 to 4 people in a group.
Okay, I can help you with that.
Okay.
That group?
Yes.
Okay.
What we're going to do is a hypothetical.
While they're still getting themselves going.
It's going to be a hypothetical that we're going to go through and deal with ethical situations that we've all been in. You know, when clients walk into our office, whether they are prospects or current, or we needed to withdraw because of something unethical going on. So I'm going to read you the fact pattern, and then the first question we as a panel are going to do, and then the remaining 10 will address to you guys. You talk amongst your group. We want to hear what you think would be the right response as to how the attorney should have acted. And then we as panelists will tell you what we believe should be done in accordance with the law rules. All right. Okay. So Sam is a citizen of India. He is 33 years old. He is a college graduate with a bachelor's degree from the University of Delhi. He majored in economics. Sam's parents reside in India. His only sibling, Tom, resides in Southern California. His brother is an entrepreneur and owns several businesses in Southern California. Sam wishes to visit Tom in the U.S. He has never visited San Francisco, but hears it is a great place. He decides he will visit his brother Tom. The timing for the trip is just right. He has been recently divorced, and the divorce was messy. He needs some time to get away from India and clear his mind. Sam applies for a B2 visa at the U.S. consulate in India. He tells the officer he is visiting his brother for several days, and is granted the visa. On June 1st, 2017, he enters the United States as a visitor, B2. After 3 weeks, or mid-late June, in the California sun and away from the stress of his divorce in India, Sam thinks it might be a good idea to permanently relocate and start a new life in the United States. He tells himself, why not live in the U.S., be close to my brother, and maybe advance academic studies at a U.S. university? He calls several colleges and universities while he is in the United States to see if they can have a degree program that fits his newfound academic interests and visits. He finds BCH University, which admits him to the university and offers him a seat in the incoming trimester class that starts in mid-October. His brother tells him that something needs to be done about his visa because he cannot study full-time while on a B2 visa. On June 25th, 2017, he consults with a local attorney in San Francisco that dabbles in immigration law. The attorney tells him that since your I-94 is valid for another 5 months, you can start studying, but just be sure to file a change of status from B2 to F1 before your current I-94 expires. He leaves the meeting feeling great. He has options. He reaches out to the university designated school official, DSO. The DSO issues a form I-20, and he's ready to file the change of status for the fall semester. He starts taking summer courses for class credit immediately, unbeknownst to everyone. The first question is, and Angela, if you don't mind answering this one, Sam has second thoughts about his advice received from the attorney, his interaction with the DSO, and he comes to you for a consultation. What do you tell him?
Oh, why did you go to that attorney that dabbles, huh? Yeah. It was cheaper, right? So this is the 90-day rule panel. So I guess the first thing that we want to talk about is that the dates that you have just been read very quickly on this law school exam question is this was before the 90-day rule went into effect in September. So we're really talking at this point in this scenario about the 30, 60, 90-day rule. And he's probably violated his status and he's not gonna like the advice that you give him at all, right? We all need to think about competency. So this is our ethics rule for the day, is that competency is required and a lawyer shall provide competent representation to your clients requiring legal knowledge. Well, probably this lawyer that advised him previously did not need that first rule, right? Yeah, well, he went off and did these actions probably on his own, starting this university course, starting his classes and violating his status. And he's kind of wound up in a bad place. So let's move on with the next part of the scenario.
So as these, we answer, I'm gonna keep adding more facts, and then we'll address the questions. So the first one, you have to read this. The next question is gonna be from group one. So at the end of the consultation with Sam, he concludes that he wishes to, at the end of your consultation, after he's done talking to Angela, he concludes that he wishes to file a change of status. He states, I need to file a change of status. Further, he states, I have paid you for this meeting, so you need to file for me. If you need more money, don't worry. We have it and we'll pay you immediately. Please file. So, group one.
Yeah.
The question is, what do you tell him now?
Can I use?
Hang on. I gotta come to you.
Can I use that program language? First of all, as you know, Steve Francis right now would never ever change status in that situation, but he's going to have collateral consequences. I'm dead. They ever want to visit the United States? I don't know. But anyway, so I think I would say, has he signed a retainer agreement?
No, you just had the consultation.
Okay, well, first of all, he's going to have to sign some type of retainer agreement.
He's paid for your consultation.
Doesn't matter. No. Yeah. I think rule number one, is, unless you're doing it hourly like the consular officers yesterday thought they were doing, you get your money, get your retainer agreement, and then start over.
Daniel, if you could elaborate with the model rules.
Okay, so this scenario calls into question 2 of the model rules, scope, which is for 1.2, and diligence, which is for 1.3. This is outside of the scope of the consultation query. Jeremy said, yes, retained you as an attorney. So just paying for a consultation is clearly not within the scope of you filing a change of status. And it goes to diligence as well, in the fact that you may have had a brief consultation, but there may be other facts that you need to find out. There may be other things that you need to do before you can file a change of status. So it would be inappropriate for you to do that without having him retain you as an attorney and being fully competent to file a change of status.
Thank you. So the next piece is 2 weeks later, before a change of status is filed, Sam's mom gets sick in Delhi. He has to go see her. He departs the US. He stays in Delhi for several months. Sam decides in Delhi to get his F1 visa at the US Embassy in New Delhi. He applies on October 10th, 2017. The question for group 2 is, before he applies, he calls you and asks, will I be all right? Do I have any risk? What?
No risk.
Oh, yeah. Which one's group 2?
Make it Brian's group.
Well, in this situation, I have to say, if the lawyer is stateside, is getting admission in India at university, I go back to conference. Posts with F1s are different. For example, the post I primarily work at now, F1s are very difficult to get at notice versus the post nearby that I spend a lot of time in is not. It's not that it's difficult, but it's just different. So that's one thing I'm going to look at. Is we should not be advising someone on an F1 if you never done an F1. And you certainly should be advising people on an F1 who've never done an F1 out of the post.
Like working?
No, but we can see that.
That would do that.
At home we can't, that's why we needed, okay.
Is it now working? Yeah. Okay. So, Ryan, thank you for your comments. I mean, one of the things that came to mind when I thought about this was, Sam indicated that he had studied during the summer and began taking classes before he was authorized to study in the United States. And I guess this begins to hone in the 90-day rule, because now we're in October, drafting September 2017 for the enactment of the rule. And I think there could be some issues. A strict reading of this rule may suggest that he's going to have some issues, but I think the biggest issue at this point that he's going to face before the votes is that he studied without authorization in the United States. He was on a B2. He decided to take courses during that summer for credit, and that's really a violation of his status as a B2 visitor in the United States. Any other comments on that question?
So I think I agree with you basically. I'm just curious, isn't there a short course of study exemption for people?
There is. But I think it's not for
It's for credit. When we wrote the hypothetical, like what we were trying to accomplish here was show that it was for credit, and that those credits would be applied to
the ultimate degree.
Yeah. And Daniel just mentioned, we were talking about this yesterday, candor as well. There has to be candor tribunal if he is going and he's asked these questions of what he was doing in the United States. Of course, he would need to be forthright.
But the short course of study doesn't say that it can't be for credit. Like if you come and you take a 3-credit, English class or something like that, I don't think that's a violation of your status. I have to check with Pam, but I know that,
If it's a degree, but
he
it's
was doing
for a
it
degree.
in physics degree. He was doing it for yeah, but it was a summer session, right?
But he was matriculated as a degree student, as a full-time degree student. So.
Oh, okay, so that wasn't in the high, okay.
Yeah, it is in the.
Oh, okay.
So he was accepted to the degree program, but he had started immediately. He began taking courses.
Did he go to the international office? Because when he's issued an IPA, the international office.
Yeah, he went and spoke to the DSO.
DSO, and the DSO said that he can, okay, it's
No, the DSO told him October.
October.
Because she was.
October that he can start, but he just went into class.
Yes, immediately.
And no one said he can't take it or like allow him.
No, and his lawyer told him he could take it.
Isn't the school allow him without any,
Without changing status.
Sure.
Because the DSO wouldn't change status. The DSO would have issued him an I-20. So the DSO would have issued him an I-20, but they wouldn't have filed a change of status. It's his responsibility to file a change of status. And then he decided to take courses on his own during the summer. Yeah. Now, this is all assuming that the school will allow him to sit in on these courses.
For credit.
For credit.
I don't have a problem. The fact that he traveled here to the US on a tourist visa, and then he became a school counselor officer at post, possibly could have the issue of preconceived intent that his real intent when he applied to B2 was not really to only visit his brother, and possibly some other options, i.e. go to school, and that possibly could close, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the whole point of this panel on the 90-day rule, the fact that he undertook that course of study within the 90 days, that absolutely it's still going to be an issue with the consular officer. And as Sal was saying, candor to the tribunal, you have to advise the client that he has to answer every question truthfully. And if the consular officer has an issue with the fact that he started to study before, within the 90 days, and to compound that, didn't file a change of status and is studying on his B2 visa, which is in violation of his B2 status, he's going to have issues with the consulate.
Is it typo under the revised rule or 30.60.8?
Under the revised rule,
Okay.
because it's after September.
Oh, all right.
In the hypo, we set the date, so initially it was,
Before.
before,
Exactly.
and at this point now it's after.
Alright, so moving on. The F1 visa was granted. He enters the US as an F1 student. It's now been a year and a half later, and he's studying at BCH University, and soon, one additional semester, graduating from the physics program. He has not left the US since beginning his studies. He does not want to leave the US once he graduates. He thinks it may be good to work in the US. He applies for a pre-completion OPT. He does so. Tom is wealthy and has a successful business. To keep Sam in the US, Tom decides that Sam should pursue a green card using the PV5 program. Tom decides to my copy doesn't get in there. Irrevocably gift his brother 1.5 million USDs. Sam and Tom decide to make an investment in a new chain of fast food restaurants in Southern California. Sam invests his 1.5 and his brother, Tom, invests the balance needed for the investment. They are both shareholders in the business. Sam goes back to his attorney in San Francisco and informs him of the investment. The attorney advises him to file an I-526, immigrant petition by alien entrepreneur. He prepares and files the I-526 with USCIS. A few weeks later, after filing, Sam travels to India to visit his mom and dad, who live in Delhi, while he's on break from his academic studies. He spends about 3 weeks in India and then comes back to the US on his F1. When he comes back to the US, he finds that his pre-completion OPT application was approved. The EAD card was approved and it has been delivered to his home. He begins to work part-time for the R&D firm that was listed by the DSO on his I-20 for his pre-completion OPT. So group 3, the question is it okay for Sam to be working for this R&D company? Who wants it? Group 3 has disappeared.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem. The only possible issue is if you're saying, well, he came in on an F1, with the 526 pending, and therefore somehow there's an immigrant detention. This is very standard. But the scenario you described is a high percentage of EB5 cases. If he legitimately came on an F1, even though he had a 526 pending, even though someday he may want to become a green card holder, and legitimately coming on an F1, he's able to work in an OPT position, so I don't see a problem.
Yeah, I would add to that though, that on the 526, I'm always very careful to put consular process, because if you put adjust, I think that you're looking for a problem with your entry on an F, but if you put consular process, it shows that you do not intend to stay to adjust, so we'll add that.
Yeah, there's actually never a reason, in my opinion, on 526, probably even an I-140 to put adjustment, because no matter what you put, you can always adjust. There's nothing that prevents you from doing it. But if you put that you're going to apply at the consulate, it's consistent with, if we're going to, Tam and I are going to talk a little bit about E2s, with 526 is pending, but it's perfectly consistent with something like an E2. Or with making an F1 entry, the fact that you said that you're going to consular process your 526.
Thank you. So you're both in agreement that it's okay to work for the R&D.
Is that an ethical violation if the client stated to you that they intended just this?
I believe what I would tell the client is that you shouldn't have an intention right now. No one has an idea if or when you're going to be able to adjust status. If you're from China, you may be applying for adjustment of status in 15 years. And none of us has a crystal ball that goes out that far. So it's certainly an ethical violation if we have a discussion and say, here's your plan, you're definitely going to adjust status, but you're going to tell people that you're not, then you have a clear ethical violation. But simply the fact that someday down the road, you may decide to adjust status, and neither of us knows that that's going to happen, I don't see it.
Thank you, guys. We agree with your expert opinions back there, and I don't know if any of you commented, but he went back to the Dabbler in San Francisco for this I-526, so that might be an issue there. Might check out that work. You know, as we were preparing for this, we're talking back and forth about last time you actually read the ethical rules, the model rules, and some of us, haven't looked at those since you were in law school, which, yeah. And as you're all Dela attorneys, we just like to channel Reed Trouts today and advise you to look at the ethics compendium that's on ALA.net. It's an amazing resource. You all practice in all different kinds of states and over here, and I just advise you to take a look at the state resources that are available on ALA.net and also the compendium. The compendium, I think the link to it will be on the Google Docs drive after this is over. And I've brought some handouts if anyone's interested in one of Reed's articles.
Thank you. So after 3 weeks with the R&D company, Tom is bored with his work. He does not feel sufficiently challenged. He wants another job to fill his time. He tells his brother about his boredom and says he needs a change. His brother says, "Why don't you start working for the company that we own? We just lost our top manager." He says that's a great idea. He starts working for the corporation immediately as a manager. The question is, since his last entry in the United States in F1 status, it's only been 35 days. Are there any issues here? He comes to you and asks what he should do. What do you tell him? Anyone?
Well, stop working at that job because it's not a physics job and it's not the job on his I-20.
Daniel?
Exactly. He has no authorization to work there. It's not the job listed on the I-20, and it is in his chosen field of study, so he cannot work for that company.
If it was in the field.
He'd have to have the I-20.
It has to be on the I-20 listed.
So he'd have to have the I-20 amended to list the employer. The R&D firm that he was working for is the employer listed on the I-20. If it was in the field, he might be able to have the I-20 amended, but this is clearly outside of the field and it's on the I-20, so he has no authorization to work.
Does that lead to pre-completion versus post-completion?
Yes. Yes, and the back pattern question mentions that he's been in the US for 35 days since his entry on F1. I don't have a problem with the 35 days. In this scenario, I don't think the timing makes any difference at all. The fact is that he doesn't have the authorization to work for the company. Whether it was 1 day after he entered or 90 days after he entered, the fact is that he doesn't have the authorization to work.
How can you amend the I-20?
You go to the designated school official, and you'd have to get a job offer from another firm, and they could amend the I-20. It would happen through the SEVA system and the designated school official would amend the I-20.
So you're talking about pre-completion.
Pre-completion.
You won't be able to get to pre-completion over here.
Because he already has pre-completion, which is okay.
Okay.
Got it. Okay, so it's 4 months later now. Sam has been in a relationship with a woman in Southern California for the last 3 months or so. He thinks things are going well. She does not.
Yes.
They decide to break it off. Sam is devastated. His OPT is running out soon. His I-526 is not yet approved. He decides he needs a change of space and goes back to Delhi where he stays for 2 years. 2 years later, Sam is still in Delhi. Sam gets a call from Tom that his I-526 has been approved and his priority date is current. He's excited. He still has a valid B2 visa in his passport, so he decides to get the next flight to California to see firsthand how things are going with his business and see if he can sort out his immigration issue in the United States and get his green card. He decides to fly through Abu Dhabi. Upon inspection and pre-clearance, he is thoroughly questioned. He is questioned about the I-526 and his intent. He tells the CBP officer that although his I-26 has been approved, he is just staying in the US for a short period on his trip to visit his brother temporarily and then departing back to India. The officer believes him. He is admitted for 6 months. After catching up with his brother, Tom tells Sam that he needs to file papers to get his green card. He meets the same San Francisco attorney that helped him in the past with the change of status, and that attorney tells him he needs to file an adjustment of status application immediately. So the next question is, he comes to you for another opinion. What do you tell him?
Excuse me, recording this.
Anyone?
Is he married yet?
No. He didn't marry him. Yeah. Broke his heart. He went crying home to mom and dad.
I think he needs a microphone.
How to get married on rice. The first thing I see, when he came in and he was interviewed by the officer in Abu Dhabi, that officer likely took notes and put it in the computer.
Yeah.
And so I would be concerned that whatever he said about not having the intention to adjust was already in the computer. So even if he waits the 90 days now, I would urge him never to adjust because he has already been flagged by CBP. And now I think they're putting together, you always hate for DOS, CBP, ICE, and CIS to be able to share information so fluently, which they're pretty much doing now. So I would urge him not to file for adjustment. You're almost at the end now, IB process.
Just to add something to what Tammy said about sharing information, don't forget that DOS shares that information as well. So anything that your client has said to a consular officer during a previous visa interview is in the CCD. When we were in Abu Dhabi meeting with pre-clearance, they were very clear that they have access to the CCD on the pre-clearance line. So they know what you told the consular officer when you apply for your visa, and then they can make more notes in the system, which USCIS can see in an adjustment interview. So that information is all leaked, and it starts with the initial consular interview.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen sworn statements made from CBP, and that's why I've seen, statements to CBP come back to haunt people, but I haven't personally seen notes taken by CBP. Have other people seen that?
Yes. Yes. And I have seen, someone saying do a FOIA, and you may not find anything. Don't FOIA, I'm putting my DOS hat on for a second, don't FOIA DOS. You're never going to get the notes for the consular interview. You will get a copy of the DS-160 that the applicant filed, which is sometimes helpful if they don't remember what they said on the DS-160, but that's all you're going to get. But we do see the notes in the CCD come back to haunt people at CIS, and there have been reports to the State Department Committee that people have been denied benefits from CIS because of what they said during their consular interviews. It's come up in the context of H's and L's, where you said your job duties were X, and then upon the extension of the petition, CIS issues an RFE that says you told the consular officer that these were your job duties, and this is not the petition.
Absolutely, but I'm asking about statements to CBP that were not reduced to a sworn statement.
Sure, and those are all in the CCD.
Those are also in.
Those are all in the CCD, so they can be seen by all of their other agencies.
What does it mean by
Consolidated Consular Database. So that starts with it's shared by the 3 agencies. I'm sure other agencies have access to it, but the 3 agencies that generally make notes in the CCD are state, CIS, and CBP.
Go ahead. I have a comment. As a practitioner, though, whether you're here or you're back in the US or wherever, I would always, in addition to advising clients that FOIA with CBP is in order, just in case answering that feedback question answer, question answer.
No sound. Sour.
Yeah. Oh, reviewing that question and answer is extremely helpful. And after that, if you know that certain representations were given as an attorney, you should decline because it's fraud, and you don't want to perpetrate a fraud on a group, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And one of the comments I wanted to make and kind of bring this back to the ethics, this typo suggested that the attorney that's dabbling advised Sam to immediately file an adjustment. And I think that leads to issues of competence. You know, this lawyer is making a recommendation that could plainly put this client in trouble, and, you know, diligence or researching the rules to be sure that the appropriate advice is being given. So we wanted to incorporate this kind of ethics piece of what this attorney was doing. And I think there's clear violation here of competence and diligence.
Is there a certain period of time where there's some sort of safe harbor? You mentioned in your fact pattern 180 days. I understand within 60 to 90 days, 60 to 90 days, you have to be careful about that. But does the rule allow for a change of intentions, change of circumstances after a certain period of time? After, say, the 100th day, yes, I intend to go back, but after 100 days, then change circumstances.
So it's not 180 days, it's 90 days, and so the safe harbor, sort of unwritten safe harbor provision that you're talking about is what used to be the case. But after September, with the revised rule, it is any change of status within 90 days is going to be a red flag. And I say red flag because we heard yesterday from consular officers that they only really look to see whether or not you've done something you absolutely shouldn't have done, and it's not necessarily an issue for them. They are only applying it in certain cases and where there's an issue of security, and it's generally just not being applied across the board. That might be the case, and we talked about this in our discussion yesterday. That might be the case for one consular officer from Manila who doesn't apply it that way. But we have to advise our clients based on the rules and based on the way they are written, not based on the anecdotal evidence that we hear that a consular officer in Manila told us they don't really apply it that way. And getting back to the ethics and the practice, if you advise a client, file a change of status immediately, or you wait 30 days and file a change of status because I know that after 30 days it's probably going to be okay. The rule says 90 days. And if you get challenged on that, and they say, my lawyer told me it was okay, I waited 60 days, there was some grace period that my lawyer talked about, and he told me that consular officers don't really apply this, good luck with your malpractice claim. The rule is, the rule is written clearly, and I would hate to have my defense be a consular officer from Hong Kong told us that they don't really apply it that way, because I don't think that that's very standard in malpractice.
But after the 100th day, 100 days has passed, or 20 days has passed, they want to do a change of status, and something has changed, then that's safe harbor.
And that is actually, that's something we're going to discuss, and it's actually getting onto Angela's next question. Since I
just wanted to make one of those. So we're talking about two legal issues, I think, but there's also a practical issue. I see the two legal issues are preconceived intent basis for a denial. In a worst case scenario, it's a fraud issue, and we have a 212A6C. And we kind of talked about both of those. There's also a practical side to this, which is now they're doing adjustment of status interviews on all of these things. So in addition to all the legal stuff, the client needs to understand we don't really know how long a lot of these adjustments are going to take because they've added no people and they're going to adjust to do interviews with everybody. So the client needs to understand, in addition to all this other stuff, you're going to get a green card a heck of a lot quicker now by IV processing than you are by adjustment.
Absolutely, and, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think these issues that we're speaking about could also come up at the adjustment stage. We're gonna run into these problems down the road, and you can see as we go through this hypothetical, it kind of leads in that direction.
Oh, so, as AILA attorneys, so, and this might be the next question on your pick list to stop me, but you know, there's a lawyer across town we know is not competent. Sometimes people will come into me for a second consultation. Sometimes I ask them who their lawyer is. Okay, are they an AILA member? That's sort of like my basic question. I try my very best to never second guess another attorney. I don't think it's helpful for anyone. But in this scenario, if the client is really pushing you to help with the adjustment because this other lawyer, would you ever pick up the phone and try to call that attorney? I'm just curious. I've never done that, but I'm just thinking like we're especially as seasoned practitioners, are we committed to trying to help raise the bar?
I really appreciate it when another attorney picks up the phone and talks to me about the advice that I've given about the client sitting there in their office. And I think that in our chapter, there's not enough communication that goes on. It certainly never hurts. But I also know that there are some lawyers that I will never talk to in my chapter, right? So there are some that are just out there blatantly fleecing and committing fraud. So it depends. Now, I'm sitting here watching Tom counting his money here in the front row, and I think that he's getting on to the next, you know, he really wants to file this adjustment really bad. We're going to move on to the next. Yeah. It's going to take us a lot of money.
So 3 weeks later, we got all of your money. And after the conversation about the 90-day rule, the previous immigration issues, Sam understands the risks, but he wants to take his chances with the adjustment immediately. He rekindled his love with his girlfriend 4 years ago, and he is adamant that he's not leaving the U.S. He tells you to file the 45 packet since he no longer wants to work with a San Francisco attorney. So, yeah, Sam has major issues.
Well, they're not married yet, and he's pulled out all of his money to file this adjustment, and he's waited past the 90 days, and he understands what the rule is and what the risks are. And it's a FAM rule, and the USCIS may not be applying this rule yet, depending on when you get to this adjustment interview. So, as long as the risks are explained and he's willing to take the risks, and it's past the 90 days, and he has pulled out all of his money, and you have a good contract explaining the consequences, you need to talk about what the fees are going to be, right? Yeah. Well, he wants this thing filed quickly. Yeah. And so, in our discussions, Daniel says he's gonna double the fees.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
don't you guys normally do this? Nobody wants for you to file it now. Drop all your other cases and, like, I want you to file tomorrow. How many do you charge extra if the client says?
Premium processing.
Exactly, premium processing, you pay an additional free.
So the factors on the reasonableness of fees goes to Rule 1.5, and that takes into consideration the time and the labor that's going to be required, the likelihood of that you're going to drop other clients and adjust your workload, the customary fee in the locality. So we're taking everyone else does a premium fee, so I guess I can too. The amount of time involved, the results, the limitations imposed by the clients, so they want it done, yesterday, and the experience and reputation ability of the attorney. So there's lots of factors on whether or not your fee is reasonable. So we may not want to triple it on him. I don't know. He's got a pile there. So, but anyway. All right, moving on.
Somebody's gonna tell him he's gonna get dark.
That's coming, it's coming.
Exactly, that's the whole thing,
can you take into account, if the client can pay? Like if they're employment
If
based?
they're able to pay,
If they're like an investor, employment based and stuff.
I don't think it matters to me. This is just my personal.
Whatever you want.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, so you're just gonna be like, okay, I'm only gonna charge you $60 because that's all you got?
No, I'm saying if it's like a Fortune 500 H-1B that I know has larger financial resources rather than like the 10-person consultant.
Oh, I think what it means is, can you charge somebody more who's rich?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Sam. I don't think we could do that.
So, no, I don't think you can do that. And Rule 1.5, talking about collection of fees, says
Well,
you can.
why not? If you can charge somebody poor less, why can't you charge somebody rich more?
Because the fees have to be reasonable to the work that you're doing. So just because you're doing work,
You do the same work.
if you're filing an I-765 for someone who is extraordinarily wealthy, or you're filing an I-765 for someone who's brought their domestic worker into the US and maybe they have a very small amount of money, the work product is the I-765. It doesn't take you any more time. I think it's reasonable to charge more money if you have to prioritize that work over your other work. But I don't think it's reasonable to charge more money just because the person can afford it.
Well, I had this very, very wealthy client who about a year ago said to me, you're gonna need to charge me more because I'm really high maintenance. And I said, you know what?
Absolutely, and that's
You can
reasonable.
charge them. You know what? I earned my fee.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's reasonable.
That's fine, I think, because that's reasonable,
And
that's
that's
that particular case.
And that's an increased amount of work, so that is absolutely reasonable.
The other thing I wanted to say is, despite the fact that the state has this 90-day rule, the BIA case allowing a marriage case to adjust despite the fact that you didn't wait 60 days is still good law.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't just throw out a BIA case because CIS may, some officer may think you violated the DOS 90-day rule. So we still have to remember that there's still published cases out there that support quicker filing in a shorter case.
But then going back to Ron's point, if we're advising our clients to consular process, the DOS applies the rule. So if we're advising clients to consular process because it's quicker, because it's more efficient, it's a DOS rule. And they will look at your entire history when you're in front of the officer at the window. So yes, I agree with you. We don't know what's to come with CIS, but we know that DOS has instituted this rule, and as we do more and more consular processing, we need to be more and more mindful that this rule exists.
Okay, I'm gonna move on because I've been told for 10 minutes. So you file the I-485, you concurrently file the 765. You advise Sam that it will be 90 days before he can work lawfully in the US. He says, no way, I'm not waiting. I need to work for my company as we have just lost another top manager. I need to manage the restaurants. Who will know I'm working? I will not take a salary. He starts to work, but he does not take a salary. A week later, he calls you to inquire about his EAD. During this call, he tells you that he is working because he needs to keep things going with the restaurant, but there is no record of his employment. What do you tell him?
It's a marriage-based adjustment?
No,
Oh,
I thought you said I saw that.
536.
Oh, okay. Okay, glad you're married.
Yeah.
No, not yet.
Nobody wants to.
So we obviously have somebody who is, who's working without permission, which is the basis for a denial of the adjustment, and even worse than that, if he's not admitting to it, he has a potential fraud issue. So, obviously, a good lawyer needs to advise him that he must disclose this on his form, and if he's actually worked it, actually it's no longer a disclosure on the form issue, it's a you're not eligible for adjustment issue.
Okay. So, Mark.
This is a immediate relative adjustment if I'm.
No,
it's not. It's 526.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
He's not married. He does a lot of dumb things.
I thought that.
Yeah. No, he went back to her, wanted to see, like, hey, baby, let me You're gonna like, yeah.
Now, on the 485, where it asks about unauthorized employment, it speaks from the date of the signature, right?
You have to get in.
Yes. But yes, and
They'll update it at the end.
they'll update on the interview.
So you want to talk about?
Yeah, one of the points that we wanted to make, this part of the hypothetical, is now you have a client that's becoming rather uncontrollable. You know, throughout this whole thing, this person has been making decisions that are contrary to the advice that you've been giving. And here, it looks like Sam is clearly not listening to what you're telling him to do. And this looks like it's going to be crashing into a brick wall rather soon. So one of the things we as kind of the panel were thinking about is, what does this lawyer do when you have this person that's so out of control and simply not listening to you? Is this a point at which you withdraw representation? And, you know, what is the scope of your representation? Can you have this person continually making these decisions that are clearly a violation of the law? And I think this is a point in time when any practitioner would need to think, do I keep representing this guy? He's clearly not listening to me. And I know in my own practice, I would have to have a very serious conversation with this person if I'm going to continue to represent them when they're not taking seriously any of the advice that I'm providing. This guy is working clearly without authorization and continuing to contact me and tell me that. So I think this is like really a decision for you. Yes, ma'am.
What if you had filed the adjustment and had the piece of money on file? Do you then withdraw it? Do you say I had to withdraw because my client's behavior became unlawful or unethical? Or continue representation with them?
I don't think you have to give a reason if you want to withdraw. And I think, you know, confidentiality, I think it may trump, can, you know, and I, yeah.
Okay, we're getting. So a few weeks later, his EAD card arrives. He continues to work for his company. Finally, the date of the adjustment of status interview is upon Sam. He has decided to hire the dabbling attorney from San Francisco to attend the adjustment interview. He prepares him for the interview. He asks you what he should do, what he should tell the immigration officer about the work he has done in the US. You tell him that he should be honest and disclose that which he has asked by the adjudicator. You remind him about the 90-day rule, the past issues, and how these issues might impact him. At the adjustment interview, all is going well. Seems like they're almost done. The officer gets to the point at which past employment is discussed. The officer asks some pointed questions about Sam's work. They focus on the OPT and his employment with his corporation. Sam decides not to disclose information truthfully as he remembers the advice you gave him, which he did not follow, and how his previous actions could impact him. As this attorney, you're sitting next to him during the interview. What should the dabbling attorney do, and what should be done? Danny?
Well, so I think what would the dabbling attorney do?
Correct. What would the dabbling
attorney not being a lawyer? Probably nothing. Probably not do anything to correct what's being said in the interview. And just let the questions go toward OPT and hope that nothing else gets raised and just keep your mouth shut. Now the other question is, what should the lawyer do? And surprisingly, nothing. So the rules that are involved here are candor to the tribunal and confidentiality. And while there is a requirement for candor to the tribunal, it's trumped by confidentiality. And the exceptions to confidentiality are only when you know that your client may be committing a crime that will cause, in some states, death, and in others, serious harm, serious financial harm. None of that exists here. So the lawyer does not have an affirmative duty to correct anything that is said by the applicant, whether it should be corrected or not. Certainly, if you're asked a question as a lawyer who's sitting in the interview, you have to answer honestly. But if the applicant is asked a question and they don't answer honestly, you do not have an affirmative duty to correct their statements.
I guess the affirmative duty is not to advance the fraud. In other words, you can't encourage answers that are helpful to your client. I've never had it come up in an adjustment interview, but I have at the end of an individual hearing where, judge looks at me and I say, questions. I think everyone knows what that means, but judge said, well.
I think
No, you
we
don't
gotta
know the judge.
refer you back to the compendium and the hypotheticals that are in there, and then also make sure to go back to your state rules, whatever bar you are licensed in, refer to your state rules, because there are variations. And I really kind of appreciate Sal's position that, you know, that fraud is being perpetrated on the tribunal. That would be the correct way to go. We have a local attorney who advises, you know, what the consequences are of your answers, what the rules are, and spells it out for the client, and then makes sure that he taps his foot during the interviews when it gets to one of those sticky questions about whether you're answering yes or no's. And his clients tell us that that's the advice that he has given, clearly perpetrating fraud.
Yeah, exactly.
One of our great
Okay,
Okay, so the last,
just two more, yeah. Sam's adjustment for status is denied. He promptly blames the lawyer. He wants to know his options. What do you tell him? Angela?
Let's see, where are we going? Sorry, I think we skipped a little bit. Did he get married yet?
No. Well, that's why I think you probably want to tell him like, hey, you want to get married now? Are you in love again?
Well, I think that that's where we're going with this, is that marriage is back on the table. So at this point where his adjustment of status is denied, if he is married, he really got to consider whether or not any of this is fixable. Right? Is he eligible if he is married a U.S. citizen? Is he eligible for a waiver for fraud? I think that's the direction that we're going.
no, that's fine.
So now Sam is back in India. He's now trying to counsel process his approved 526.
He doesn't really want to give up.
Yeah, no, he just keeps going. He's like, I don't want to marry this woman, or either she's dumping him all the time. He calls you and asks you what he can expect based on what has happened historically. You know?
He's going to get denied. His adjustment was denied because of fraud. So he's got 212A6C. His entire immigration is U.S. And I don't think there's any consular officer who's going to approve the consular application without a waiver. And unfortunately, there is no waiver. There's no waiver of 212A6C for an immigrant visa unless there's hardship, unless a qualified relative or hardship. So now we're back to, Sam, I really hope you want to get married because his brother's in the US, but that's not a qualified relative. The only thing he can do is get married. He's never going to get the immigrant visa application approved for the I-526. So his option is, I hope that girl in Southern California wants to marry you. And I hope that she has some debilitating illness, because you're going to be, it's a pretty extreme hardship. But I think Sam's probably going to be in a different point of life.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.